I know I'm gonna get crucified. People are gonna say it's wrong, it's dirty, it's unethical. But honestly, from the bottom of my heart, what I'm about to teach you here, regardless of any judgment, the combination of these 6 behaviors that I've written down is what got me out of the gutter fast. It's what made me rich quickly. It's what allowed me to live the life I live at such a young age. Those who follow me on Instagram know what my life is like now. Sometimes I even post a thing or two here on YouTube. But to be completely honest, I never imagined I'd be living this life so soon. If you'd asked me, of course, I've always been ambitious, always wanted more, always wanted to live an extraordinary life. Those lives that you see online, the fancy cars, the travel, and so on. I always wanted that, obviously. But I didn't know I would achieve it so fast, truly. And analyzing it coldly today, after a few years of living this life, I can see clearly that these 6 behaviors, which obviously after a while became ingrained habits and deep-seated beliefs, were the ones responsible for it. Many people, as I said at the beginning, will say, "Whoa, man, you're gonna make a lot of people. People won't be as happy as they were. Maybe ignorance is bliss." Fine, man. Here's the disclaimer, the spoiler. If you want to live that life where you're kind of blind, just saying, "Oh, let's grab a beer on the weekend," and continue in your common, ordinary job, you can leave this video. No problem at all, no hard feelings. Now, if you're willing to listen to some nuggets, not even of knowledge, but of personal experiences proven by me, speaking simply as a young man who made it. I'm nothing special. Quite the opposite. I was terrible in school, terrible in college. But anyway, I consider that I stumbled upon some information that really made me take a much different direction than the vast majority of friends I hung out with, for example, from the life I had. I was interning, earning minimum wage. I come from where most people watching me come from, right? I didn't have luxury or anything. So, I feel an obligation to somehow pass forward these behaviors, which are pieces of information that I don't see out there on YouTube. What I'm going to tell you here, these 6 points I've separated, I don't see them out there. I don't even see them in paid courses, to be honest. I think that's why the latest videos here have been doing well. I made one specific video, in fact, that is kind of the continuation of this one. Go search for it on my channel later. This is dirty, but it makes you achieve anything. Dark psychology. That's more or less the line we're about to enter now. So, without further ado, as I told you, I wrote it down. Point number 1 is the following, and look closely, it might seem confusing. When I start talking here, it might seem confusing. Maybe you won't understand it right away. Most likely, you won't understand it right away. And I want you to see this as a good sign. If you don't understand what I'm going to say and what I'm going to explain to you right away, it means you're stumbling upon new information. Agreed? If you keep doing the same things you always do, you hear a phrase from someone, and you even find that phrase cliché because you've heard it so many times. You agree that you'll be doing the same things, hearing the same information, expecting different results. That makes no sense. So, what's my simple request here? Listen carefully to all the points I mention without speeding up the video, without skipping a little part. It might seem annoying, it might, and it is for many people whose heads are messed up with TikTok, short videos, right? But do it, man. Do it. Watch it as many times as necessary, rewind this video, save this video to watch again, but watch with complete attention, and I swear, I promise you that after you understand and implement these behaviors in your life, it will be a matter of time, and a short time, for everything to change. So let's go. First point, focus on the intention, never the behavior. You will always ask yourself, what were they trying to achieve with this? Never, I repeat, never is it about what they actually did. It's about what result they wanted to achieve. Period. Save this phrase, save this information. I'll give a very clear example that happens a lot here. There are a lot of guys you probably follow out there who actually do a lot of good things, who genuinely want to teach you a lot of things that might even help you. But deep down, that person's intention might be to rip you off later. So, do you realize that when you get stuck thinking only about what that person is doing, what their behavior is, and you isolate that variable, you start to become an extremely manipulable person? I gave a clear and easy example for you to understand, but you need to start asking this kind of question in every area of your life, from small situations, like arguing with your parents, arguing with a friend of yours. Man, a very clear example I went through a lot. I used to argue with my parents, argue with my friends constantly when I was trying to make things happen. They kind of blocked me because they thought it was too risky, because I shouldn't quit my job, because I should do this, that, and the other. So if I were to analyze only their behavior, their action, I would have to have gotten really mad because they were trying to stop me from living my dream, right? But actually, if you analyze it, what was their ultimate intention for doing that, man? They wanted my security. They wanted to see me well. They were afraid I would mess up. So it's something genuine. It's something that today I see, especially with more maturity. I see, man, how cool. How cool. Why? It was an action they were taking out of love. And this is where I want to get to. Why is the rabbit hole much deeper? You start to think and deconstruct many beliefs and many thoughts this way. I'll give an example that I like to give often. Why do you think they taught us that they implemented this in our heads? That the ideal world is what? The world where your parents will be proud of you, or what society wants you to do? What are the steps you have to take? School, college, then find an internship, work there while studying. Then you finish college and perhaps even start another course while you're progressing in your corporate career and so on. They do that. They implemented this in your head, disguised as a good thing. It's a good, positive behavior. You have to study. You have to find a job. You have to work. You have to be productive. You think this is a good thing, a good action, a good behavior they put in your head, but deep down you start to ask this same question that we asked, right? With sillier and shallower things. You start to ask it with this type of thing, and then you start to understand that, man, for the powerful people, whose names we don't even know, it's much more advantageous for you to follow, like an invisible prison. You're being extremely predictable. It's like, man, a herd of sheep that always goes in the same direction. Everyone already knows. It's much easier for the big, powerful people to maintain control. This way, you're taught from childhood to follow orders. You ask permission to go to the bathroom at school. You can't talk to a friend during a test. Anyway, do you notice how from an early age, without even realizing it, you're taught to follow orders? You're never taught to think for yourself, to think outside the box, to do your own thing, to think differently. You think it's impossible for you to be earning, say, $20,000, $40,000, $200,000 a month at 18 or 20 years old. It's so absurd to you that when you see someone who is 20 years old earning $40,000, $60,000 a month, you think the person is stealing, doing something wrong, messing up. Then you start to deconstruct many beliefs that were holding you back. You start to understand why a lot of thoughts that are actually rotten came to you disguised as something good. No, let's study, let's get good grades, and then let's get a job to make the family proud or whatever. So, do you see how the story goes deeper here? Second point. Observe the emotional moment. Notice when people become friendly, distant, jealous, or encouraging. The moment always reveals the truth before the words. Notice and save this information here. Rewind the video so you can calmly hear what I said, because now I'm going to the explanation. I'm going to the real examples. A lot of people will become super friendly with you at specific moments. And these are exactly the moments you need to remember and, preferably, write down. Because words, honestly, the words you hear from, man, it's that phrase my grandmother always told me, anyone can talk. So when you want to truly understand and read a person, you need to observe what emotions they present to you even before they speak. That's where the truth will lie. A lot of people will suddenly start being super friendly with you when you start showing signs that you're winning in life. Strange, right? Especially if it's that person who never even looked at you. You've known them for a long time, and suddenly they want to get closer. Very strange. Suspicious at the very least, right? And look closely, a lot of people fall for this kind of spiel. Why? Because the person on the other side comes with nice words. Sometimes they even come disguised as, hey, there's an opportunity here, man. Suddenly you started doing well, the person suddenly has an opportunity for you. But if you're not sharp about this, you end up falling for it. After all, you're just starting to succeed now. You're starting to experience a lot of things. You easily fall for the charm. Same thing. You're in a group of friends. You start to talk about progress or whatever. You notice that people start to become more distant from you. You notice that emotion, right? The group kind of withdraws. Man, you need to be attentive to these signs. I'm giving some very basic examples here, but it's to make it clear, okay? And so that you don't fall for a nice-sounding story. You see this clearly in relation to jealousy, to encouragement. When do you receive encouragement from someone? There will be people who will encourage you when you're struggling. There will be people who will encourage you when you're doing well. There will be people who will encourage you in both situations. Start observing this. The sooner you understand this, the sooner you'll be able to read people. The sooner you'll be able to understand who you should have by your side or not, who you should value later or not. Third point, and this is one of my favorites. Anyone who has played video games or computer games competitively will have an advantage here, but I'll explain it as calmly as possible. Listen up. Replay the situations like a movie. After social interactions, mentally review them as if you were a third person. What patterns or changes would a stranger notice? Look closely. I played many types of online games on the computer for a long time, and I was always very competitive. I'd play, say, Counter-Strike, for example, and I wanted to reach the highest rank. I wanted to be the best in the game. And what is an exercise that is extremely important for you to make progress, for you to really improve in the game? It's watching the replay of your own match. It's you observing yourself playing as if it were a third person, watching the replay of your match. Exactly that. You're watching yourself playing the game as a third person inside the game. And that's what I want you to do in any type of social interaction you're exposed to. Whether you go to an event, whether you're at your job, whether you're at your college, your school, anything you're talking about with your family, it doesn't matter. You'll start observing, after that social interaction you had, as if you were a third person. You'll remember what the conversation was like and you'll look. Pay attention to the facial expressions of the person you're talking to. You need to increasingly position yourself as an observer. Everything I'm teaching here, all these behaviors, these habits that I'm showing you here, is what will differentiate you from 99% of the herd of common people who will die having common lives. If you're here until now in this video, I'm sure you're not someone who wants to die having a common life. In fact, I think my biggest inspiration has always been this. I've always been very afraid of dying having a common, normal life, like most people have. I've always been terrified of that, and I went for it a lot because of this fear. And that's what I want you to have here. It's with you that I want to talk, right? Those who want to have a common life turned off this video a long time ago. So, after you start doing this with a certain frequency, and it's obvious that you'll do this with social interactions that make minimally some sense for you to want to analyze later, right? It's like in the game. If I played a match all wrong, not caring about anything, there's no need for me to want to see the replay of that match later, because I played poorly. Now, if it's a social interaction that made sense, man, start noticing the patterns. You started talking about a certain subject. Did the person make a facial expression of shock, doubt, or even happiness? What happened? Or did you talk about a plan of yours? What did the person do? Did they encourage you, praise you? Or did they ask you something? Or did you say something, and they didn't believe it? What happened? What changes, what patterns would a stranger notice observing this conversation you had there, that you just had? That's what I want you to do. This is one of the most powerful exercises of all. That's why, in fact, I want to start doing some gatherings, some in-person events, looking into the eyes of everyone who follows me and is committed, because I like it, man. There's nothing better than doing this exercise, sitting down, talking to the person, understanding there. Does the eye light up or not? What happens? There's nothing to replace that. Fourth point, don't rush to judge people. When someone says or does something strange, don't assume right away. Stay neutral. Keep only observing. People always reveal themselves if you don't interrupt the process. The truth, my friends, is that silence is a gift. If you could simply be quieter and listen and observe people, you would see how much easier and lighter you would get to where you want to go. But what's the problem? And where's the catch here? Silence is something that greatly bothers insecure people. Imagine yourself with 2-3 people you might not know well, and then a certain moment comes, the conversation is over. No one says anything else, and you're just looking at the other person's face, a little anxious like, man, is no one going to say anything? Do you notice? It's a common situation I described here. Maybe you felt uneasy just thinking about that situation, right? And that's exactly how I felt a while ago, because I was an insecure person. Silence, man. I hated silence. I wanted to be talking all the time, and if someone stopped talking, I would be the one who would try to say something to start a great conversation and, oh my God, it's all good now because everyone is talking. Do you notice the desperation? No, man. It's okay to be silent, to listen to the person. The person started talking. Sometimes they pause. And you already want to interrupt. You already want to talk about yourself. You already want to throw a log on the fire to see if they talk. Man, let the person talk. Let them talk. See what happens there. Notice. Observe. There is nothing more interesting in this world than an interested person. You're talking there, chatting there, and the person is really trying to understand what you're saying. Man, observe. Be silent. Be silent. Let the other person talk. You'll see how much more you'll understand people, and how much more people will start to like you too. I remember, man, I wasn't even earning like $1,000 a month on the internet back then. And I had the chance to meet a person who was light years ahead of me. An older person who, well, already made good money. And I chatted with that person. I won't even mention the name because maybe you know them. And I was so genuinely interested in that conversation. I asked so many questions and stayed quiet afterward. I would ask a question that had, say, 5 words, and I would be quiet for half an hour, just listening, just listening, just listening, truly interested. Because of that, from a quick conversation, I got a contact that introduced me to another contact, which put me at some bizarrely powerful tables, and it worked for me like a massive shortcut, simply because I learned the power of silence, of observing people, of letting them talk. And you know why it's strange? It took me a long time to learn this. It took me a long time to learn this because the first thing that comes to mind, right? Let's suppose you're going to meet a guy you admire who makes millions a month. The first thing that comes to your mind, at least it's what came to mine, is like, what am I going to be able to add to this guy's life, right? This guy is already so far ahead, man. Like, how am I going to be a cool guy? How am I going to be able to add value to his life? He's so far ahead so far. That thought is totally wrong. You enter there wanting to impress, right? You want to prove that you really have something to add to his life, that you can help. And when in fact, you just needed to be an interested person, just be silent and observe what he has to say. So, the 5th point that complements what I was talking about here is the following. When you observe the behavior there, when you're practicing this silence along with it, and this is a step 2, okay? Don't try to do everything at once, overnight, because that doesn't exist either, right? Let's be honest. When you're observing what the person is saying, regardless of what they're saying or doing, you're going to practice emotional detachment. What is that? Observe what someone did without judging. Simple. This will train you to be able to see the facts and not the feelings. What happens, whether you agree with me or not? What happens with 90% of people? This is data. It's statistics. Okay? I'm not just talking off the top of my head. You end up simply seeing and judging the feelings, the emotions that the other person had. They did such a thing, but also because this happened. How many times have people managed to make you see a villain from a horror movie or whatever with good eyes simply because, man, say, they were really mad because someone in their family was harmed, this and that and the other, and you end up simply seeing the feeling. You end up seeing and judging the emotion, not the fact, not what happened there. I won't even put a real situation here, because I'm thinking of some really dark things here. No need for that. But do the exercise of simply observing what the person is doing or saying, not with the feeling they are putting out there, not with the emotion they are doing it with. Just observe without judging, without emotion, without feeling. Look, and that's it. It's difficult. I know it's difficult because when you see someone angry, you naturally absorb a little of that, right? You're seeing it, wow, this and that. But just try to observe. You'll see that 2-3 minutes after you've witnessed or observed it, your judgment changes completely. Next point, give up the need to impress. I already gave a spoiler about this a moment ago, right? Study how they speak, what they avoid, what they repeat. You will learn much more when you stop trying to be seen. Many people, because of deep-seated beliefs, have this desire, this need to be seen, to attract attention, to make noise, to say, wow, I succeeded because I'm awesome, I did this and that. If you look into your past, you'll understand why you have this ingrained. You'll understand. I myself had a lot of this a while ago because, man, I was already underestimated by various teachers, for example. I already had serious problems with that. So, my need came from that time of wanting to show those female teachers, for example, those teachers, that, man, I succeeded in life, and that I went totally against what you said to me publicly for a bunch of my little friends to hear. So, maybe you, because you were, say, man, sometimes you got rejected in a very embarrassing way. Or sometimes, say, you're afraid to speak in public because you messed up or whatever. There will always be something that will give you that need to be seen, that need to be approved by several other people. And this is very complicated. It's what keeps a lot of people from sitting at wonderful tables, tables of truly successful people. But I'm not just talking about money, for God's sake. After a while, you see that, man, that phrase, some people are so poor they only have money. It's true, right? It's no use being super rich and whatever and, man, not having a healthy family, not wanting to do, well, I won't even get into that area because it's a topic for another video. But the fact is, your need to want to show off holds you back a lot, and you don't realize it. If today you don't make as much money as you would like, it's because you haven't yet managed to observe without judgment people who are where you want to be, or in similar situations to where you want to be. If you truly manage to stop to observe this, understand what they listen to, what habits they have, who they relate to, how they relate, what they do, where they operate, how they operate, what they read. If you could observe this and go after this information without any kind of judgment, without any kind of feeling or emotion in between, if you manage to truly do that, in a few months you would take a leap in your life that, man, in a matter of 2 or 3 months, you would be unrecognizable. And I say this with the utmost peace of mind, because that's exactly what happened to me a long time ago. Now click on the video that's appearing here for you too, which is completely related to what we're talking about. I'm sure it will help you a lot too. Don't forget, watch this video as many times as necessary for you to really learn everything I said. We're in this together. Don't forget to follow and share for more curiosities of humanity.